So, okay, let's get into some serious stuff. This is why we're here today, is to talk a little bit about your career at JetBrains, some of the things that we're doing with Qodana at the moment and the team. And I'd also really like to get your perspective on kind of the industry around us at the moment. Of course, there's a lot of questions, and I think you always have very interesting perspectives, and you make an effort to stay in the know, which I appreciate. So I guess the logical place to start is talking about your career at JetBrains a little bit. Obviously, it's impressive. You've been here for a long time. And I saw that one of your first projects was actually with PhpStorm, which, in case anybody doesn't know, is an IDE that was originally released in 2010, dedicated IDE for PHP and web technologies. And this is kind of where you started your JetBrains career. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? And are you the father of PhpStorm?
Yes, I am. But you missed one important part. It's not very visible, but it actually makes the story even more interesting.
Yeah.
So from the very first day I became a JetBrains employee in 2027, I think, something like that. From the very first day, I started making Qodana. Yes, because my job was in TeamCity, and as the first full stack developer who is familiar with frontend, I was doing some dynamic interface stuff, Ajax at the time. And the task which I was applying these skills to was, first of all, exporting inspection results from IntelliJ IDEA and importing them into TeamCity. And I was, my database skills, I was able to hone for the next 6 months, because I was designing the different reports on those runs. Because, for example, if you run IDEA on IDEA, it will give you 100,000 different warnings, and so on and so on and so on. So I was building a quality gate for IntelliJ IDEA project itself, checking itself using TeamCity. And the second thing what I was doing is, a gate will be a red line through all my JetBrains next and the current efforts. What I was doing analytics for TeamCity. The systems that again would be able to indicate the amount of stuff. So you have some graphs and charts, so it will, for example, track code coverage, also now part of Qodana, and so on and so on. So it's funny, but now it's retrospective. It's 20 years of making Qodana.
Yeah, kind of a foreshadowing for what Qodana is today. Also, I mean, I think officially you were the Qodana project coordinator in 2019. Is that correct?
Yeah. Let's be sequential. Then I switched from the taking in results of any inspections and showing them and making them useful as a quality gate, and different aspects of quality, making them useful for a project like health. In TeamCity, I switched to IDEA teams, did work on some of Java, obscure nowadays Java servers. And then JetBrains was spawning the whole family of IntelliJ IDEs. The first was the RubyMine, which made IntelliJ into a platform. Then was PyCharm. Then the next stuff came. And I was the father of both PhpStorm and WebStorm. This is why they have the same name, actually, name family. Yeah. And it was funny, we took some existing code which was contributed to project, and my whole vision was, I was so fascinated with IntelliJ IDEA. When I first started working in Java, it was a few years before JetBrains. It was barely version 1.0, actually, only applets at that time. I tried all the stuff from all the companies who did Java, IBM stuff, Borland stuff, all the IDEs, and then I touched IntelliJ IDEA. It just clicked immediately, and I think many of our customers know the feeling. Then sometimes it just works, and it's like a shut up and take my money. So I was, and PHP at that time was already a little bit stagnating. It was as a language a little bit like a language for people who do low quality work, something like that. It was a bad idea. But it was just before, first of all, they didn't have any tools, didn't have good debugging, they didn't have any good tools that they do have now. And we, JetBrains and PhpStorm played a big part in that, actually. But yeah, the story was different with WebStorm, and I was fortunate that it was taken from me because it was exploding, and I wouldn't be able to take a good care of PHP. And because if I was also thinking about JavaScript, I think it's an even harder story. PHP was easier target market for me. But basically, what I made the same awesome experience. I ported the experience to a different language, and doing that, I had to first of all design complex algorithms from type inference to make the nice completion and different stuff like that, and actually change the PHP community themselves to switch, for example, from working over FTP repository on live server to, for example, source control work, test-driven work, and so on, so on, and so on. And as more features for type inference we have developed, PHP dynamically typed language, loosely typed at that time, we had to kind of we help the next generation of tools by making a set of conventions. And those conventions boil down into actually even future languages. For example, in PHP, we have introduced this variable can be this type or that type or that type with a vertical pipe. Super easy internal syntax. It was just how it was in memory. It was just a printout. But then you put it into PHPDoc for a developer or to take use, or to pull like a PhpStorm to make use of it for either type inference for completion or inspection. So you using this variable, which is not initialized, stuff we take for granted now in Java. We made it for PHP, and those commands and type definitions started to shape in the language. Then the next thing was that we seen what happened with Ruby. Basically, language was dying. It still is a little bit alive, and RubyMine is still selling, and they're doing some interesting stuff in there. But on the overall, it's not even interesting to work with. And PHP struggled at some point. Nobody wanted to maintain it, and so on. So we hired an external person who was working on PHP itself, Nikita Popov. He's amazing, actually, engineer. Hi, Nikita, if you will be watching this in future. And for 2 years, we worked on PHP. He was working on PHP, but within our meetings, and we were working on PhpStorm. And he saw which language features and conventions and APIs make it tool-friendly, and having a good tool make a better software. So for making a high quality program, you need to be able to do this type checks, quality checks, to do generate tests, to do code coverage, and so on and so on. So he was working on the PHP engine and language features a few years, actually, and few proposals. And we actually, PHP community was very helpful. Derek from Xdebug helped us a lot on internals. Many other people, many people who were actually first PHP customers were moving us to conferences. We were talking about this language evolution. And actually helped us to secure PHP ecosystem, to make next version of PHP, and to make it both secure and performant and actually tool friendly, so you have nice experience developing it. So it isn't dying now. We have a little bit less of new projects, but it's a mature ecosystem. And at that point, actually, was the thing in my career which switched me back to analytics and how to make stuff useful. Because before that, for all of that, I told you I was a good proxy of what will be ideal flow for a PHP developer using JetBrains IDE, like a Java-like experience, and so on and so on and so on. But at some point, those easy projections ended, and it was smaller features. And for those smaller features, you need much tighter progress. You need to measure user interaction. You need to measure the quality. You need basically what is now everybody takes for granted, and it didn't exist. We didn't measure everything. We had input from U-Track, community, in Twitter, support, and so on, from internal tests for performance team. And actually, we developed a whole performance suite during that using TeamCity indicators and PhpStorm inspections to be able to do continuous performance improvement. This is also like a whole idea of what Qodana should be doing.
Yeah. Basically, your work has touched every facet of this business, almost every product that is in JetBrains over the last.
Yes, at that point, I switched to internal analytics platform, which now touches every product, which is now basically like a basic. If you introduce new product, if you introduce a feature in your product, you do analytics instrumentation there, so you will be able to see that your customer have touched and how many customers touch, how many continue to use features, how many churned, and so on and so on. So before that, we were developing our like a super complex John Deere like a type combine and dropping it into wilderness. But we designed, optimized our combine to, for example, pick up, dig out potatoes, and then people use this some combine to cut bananas from, and it didn't work good. But with this real-time analytics and so on, we are able to first of all get this information about new usages, and maybe even sometimes adopt, so we can have an adoptive strategy within the products and the optimization strategy. During that period, we also introduced like weekly APs and more releases. It was also very helpful for streamlining that data that we use now to design and shape our own products. Obviously, we still have a lot of insight, being like doing this for 20 years, 15 years, many people in the company. We have very good understanding what are the hard parts of the software development pipeline. It's not even usually creating the code. It's like keeping it, maintaining, and so on. And right now with AI, creating is even more easier, but keeping, maintaining, it gets harder, which brings us closer to Qodana and modern stuff that I will switch to.